very late stages. Next week, we will formally become Heliostar in what was a transformative acquisition that was done when Redstar acquired a private company, Heliostar, about 2 months ago. You'll note a cautionary statement that can be found on our website. And so the first slide is a little complicated. It has a lot of information and it sums how we got to this point over the last couple of months. Redstar is a publicly listed company that has been around for a long time with the Unga project. And I was the president of a private company known as Heliostar that was looking for a high-grade gold project that had real potential. We'd put together a portfolio of projects in northern Mexico, but we were looking for that really flagship asset that had both grade and size. And in conversations with Redstar, both groups had needs that the other group fixed. So the combination has been that Redstar acquired Heliostar in August. We raised $7 million without a warrant. We just had an AGM last week that was the last piece of the transformation, and that approved the name change and the consolidation of the share structure. So you can see in green, as of next week, we're just waiting for the exchange update on exactly what the effective date will be next week. We'll become Heliostar Metals. We'll have just short of a $60 million market cap with 32 million shares outstanding and a very healthy cash balance. So the company will be structurally set up for success. Really importantly, we have skin in the game. We have over 20% of the outstanding shares. And if you combine that with Eric Sprott's investment, the major shareholders of Heliostar in the August placement, there is a lot of new capital that's come into Heliostar Metals for a reinvigoration of the Unga project. And that's what we'll move forward to present now. It is a combination when you're looking for which company to invest in, and I think it probably touches on some of Gwen's comments at the start of this presentation. Exploration is difficult and you need to turn all the odds in your favor to make a financial success of an investment. So in our case, we think that there's 4 key reasons that you should invest in Heliostar. The first is the quality of the assets, and the rest of the presentation will talk through those. High-grade, district-scale assets with significant upside potential. We are fortunate enough to be well-financed. We don't have any warrants. We were able to do the $7 million placement without those 2 months ago. And so with just short of $8.5 million cash in the bank today, we have 3 drill rigs turning and we'll be aggressive in our exploration over the next few months. We've reinvigorated the company's management team. We now have a new board that combines 3 of the Redstar directors and 3 of the Heliostar directors. And what I really like about it is A, track record of discovery, but B, a real balance. We have strong financial acumen with Jacques Vaillancourt and George Island. We have real operator experience with William Lamb, and then technical expertise with Alan Wilson, Ken Booth and myself. So I think that's what you need in a junior explorer if you're going to make the transition from a discovery play into a mine. You need to be able to see how markets work, how geology works, and then we all want to believe things are going to go perfectly, but those people who have run companies like William Lamb really know that when tough moments happen, that experience of how to navigate that is the thing that will set apart a lot of companies from being a success from those that lose their way. And lastly, I mentioned the really tight share structure, so there'll be a lot of talk to discovery success. So our first project, our flagship project is Unga. Unga is located in the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. And I think it will surprise a lot of people to know that it is actually further south than the Golden Triangle in BC. So it is not a cold, frozen, distant project like a lot of Northern Canadian or Northern Alaskan exploration stories. It's accessible by, there's a large airstrip that you can see in that photo at Sand Point on Popov Island. And so we fly there, and at the moment we're using field camps over on Unga Island for the base of our exploration. The real advantage that being that far south gives us is that we have a long field season. We can explore there for 9 months of the year at the moment, and ultimately you'll be able to move to a permanent basis should we progress the project. We own the asset 100%. We're not making option payments to become the majority owner of this. This is our project. It's subject to, in Alaska, there's a split between subsurface rights and surface access rights. So the Aleut Corporation is the native corporation for the Aleutian Islands, and we've entered into an 8-year exploration agreement with a 20-year mine lease option. So the TAC are a very pro-development group, and they are looking for us to develop this asset. Then on Unger Island, we have the Unger Corporation, and on Popov Island, we have the Shumigan Corporation, and we have access agreements with both of those groups for the projects. In fact, we just extended the Unger agreement for another 3 years. So a lot of people's perception of Alaska is remote and difficult. We're very fortunate with our access. I'll talk about Apollo, which was Alaska's first underground gold mine. So it makes it very convenient for us to do our exploration program. We see a significant amount of potential with this property. You can see that scale bar is 5 kilometres. We have gold mineralisation over 15 kilometres by about 13 kilometres. And really, we're only just scratching the surface on the potential. So to unlock that potential, we mobilised 3 rigs to site in early September, and we're currently in the middle of a 8,000 metre drill program. And I sort of jokingly refer, people would love to have the 4 targets that I'm going to present. There's a lot more targets, but these 4 targets include a resource that is open, an old gold mine with blocked out ore, a non-compliant resource, and then trenched gold at surface that we're following up on drill holes. I think if any company had one of these, they'd have a very strong valuation, let alone having these 4 opportunities. And so the first of those is the SH1 resource area. SH1 has been drilled on and off for the last 15 years and has seen the focus of work in the past. There's a core area in the main chute that's been drilled, and it's got intersections up to 17 metres at 23.9 grams gold, including subintervals over 200 grams. So we've got a really high grade, really wide vein here at SH1. But one of the curious things that's happened in the past, as soon as you get out of that main area, then there's very wide space drilling. And so that's just too wide. 100 to 200 metre space drilling is too wide for these targets. So we've done 2 things. We're going in and doing shallow drilling where there's about a 100 metre gap between surface and the first set of drill holes. And then we're going to step down. You'll note the deepest hole there, BMS1, 5.5 metres at just short of 24 grams gold. So this is wide open to expand, both infill and expansion drilling to grow the SH1 resource. Then over to Apollo. Apollo was Alaska's first underground gold mine, reported to produce 150,000 ounces at 10 grams per tonne. And really interestingly, on this old long section, they blocked out ore underneath that they couldn't recover with a stamp mill, which currently is easy to do in flotation. And so we're going to be the first group to come in and test the extensions of the old mine, where they literally dug the tunnels and the shafts and defined the extent of mineralisation. It goes from gold rich to polymetallic, so there'll be a healthy silver-based metal component to this system. But with conservative recoveries, that's 8 to 10 gram material from some of the sampling in this underground work. So, a very high probability exploration target. Then over at Centennial on Popov Island, the same high-grade epithermal veins have reached a flat-lying layer that sucked up that mineralisation. So there's a non-compliant resource of over 200,000 ounces at 1.3 grams, 0 strip ratio effectively, at surface, very good recoveries. It's a heap leach target. But one of the things that caught our eyes is some of the old drilling done by Battle Mountain in the 80s showed better intercepts, 4.6 metres at 5 grams. And some geophysics suggests that there's a feeder vein that comes up and brings the mineralisation into that flat-lying unit. So we're going to go in and we're going to drill some of those targets looking for high-grade mineralisation to bolster this resource, this non-compliant resource. And then lastly, Aquila, which might be the sleeper in the whole deck. Battle Mountain did probably the best work that was done. The project lied dormant in an oil company in the 90s and sort of saw intermittent exploration in the 2000s until now. So the work in the 80s is probably the best work that's been done on the project. And they found this dilation zone where they could get gold grades up to an ounce gold over 850 metres. They did some trenching and got some really good results. And they went to drill this, and got real issues with recovery. They consistently got less than 10% recovery, and they even assayed some of their tails and got up to 15 grams gold. So we think with modern drilling, modern muds, bigger core sizes, we can solve the recovery, the drilling recovery issue, and we potentially have another ore shoot just sitting there at surface. So the real attraction for the Unga project is it's very high grade, it's very big, and we're really only just starting the exploration. But as Gwen mentioned, there is a sense of seasonality when anyone has a project in Canada or Alaska. And so we've balanced that portfolio with our portfolio of projects in Mexico. We know Northern Sonora extremely well from my background with Evrim and as the VPX of Vizsla. And so we know epithermals really well, and we know this part of the world really well. And so this is the district that has Las Chispas, Santa Elena, Mercedes. It's always been held by copper majors, but in the last few years, the pedigree of the gold and silver assets here is really coming to the fore. And I'll just touch on two of those. One of those is Ossonegro, which we purchased early this year. We own 100% of the project, and it's got some very high-grade samples, consistent mineralization over 3 veins, at least 500 meters long. Gold samples up to 100 grams, silver samples up to 2.6 kilos. And this project's never been drilled. We are the first group who will come in and drill this at the back end of 2020. And lastly, I was trying to put together the Coomera district. I was unfortunate that we were outbid for a major block of that by Silvercrest, but nonetheless, Silvercrest have just recently acquired this district, and we own a really key part of the Coomera block. So high level alteration, veins that have been drilled right up to the property boundary continuing onto our ground. So we think our portfolio in Mexico, though earlier stage than Unga, is a really high quality set of targets. So to summarize, Heliostar, which will have a new ticker code next week, will have a really active couple of months of drilling and exploration. So please go to our website and follow as we drill some really high grade, high probability exploration targets. Thank you.